Men wonder if there can be a good God back of things when they see earthquakes wipe out the innocent and the guilty alike, and innocent little children suffer from nameless diseases they did not bring on themselves. But the distracted and doubted mind turns towards Jesus with relief and says, if God is like that, he is all right. As Christians, we affirm that he is Christ-like in character, and we say it without qualification and without the slightest stammering of the tongue. We believe that God is Jesus everywhere, and Jesus is God here, the human life of God. If God thinks in terms of little children as Jesus did, cares for the leper, the outcast, and the blind, and if his heart is like that gentle heart that broke upon the cross, then he can have my heart without reservation and without question. If the finest spirits of the human race should sit down and think out the kind of God they would like to see in the universe, his moral and spiritual likeness would gradually form like unto the Son of Man. The greatest news that has ever broken to the human race is the news that God is like Christ. And the greatest news that we can break to that non-Christian world is just that the God whom you have dimly realized, but about whose character you are uncertain, is like Christ. If you are to see God face to face, you must see him in the face of Jesus Christ. For Jesus is God approachable, God available, God simplified, God lovable. The Word has become flesh. If I were to sit down to try to think out the kind of God I'd like to see in the universe, for the life of me, I couldn't think of anything higher than Christ. The gospel begins with Jesus, not with God. Apart from Jesus, you know little or nothing about God, and what you know is wrong. If you don't see God in the face of Jesus, you see something other than that God, and different. Jesus is the self-revelation of God. God meeting us in understandable form, human form, the Word become flesh. God is a Jesus-like God. Apart from Jesus, your ideas of God become strange and uncertain. When you lose Jesus, you lose God. The more I know of Jesus, the more I know of God. Jesus is God simplified, God approachable, God understandable, God lovable. When I say God, I think Jesus. And nothing higher can be thought or said. Jesus is the last word that can be said about God. E. Stanley Jones shares the following testimony of his friend. A friend of mine was explaining the cross to a Hindu who was an atheist. A Muslim listened and said, "You don't know what you're doing. You are degrading God and blaspheming him when you say he suffers." "No," replied the atheistic Hindu. "If we are to believe in any God at all, we must believe in the kind of God Jesus shows." The atheistic Hindu knew instinctively that this was it. There was no arguing. Can you argue with the eye that sees the light?